It's a bit weird that there's no theme song in this episode because, as far as I know, sorry, I'm eating right now. As far as I know, this is the only time they've never played the theme song in the entire franchise's history. So out here, they look pretty inconsistent. Like, they discover something, Ruby investigates it, the Doctor suddenly disappears, and just like, oh, where is he? Goes back to the TARDIS is locked, goes around the back of the TARDIS, and like, oh, you better not be having a pee. Then you see what is behind the TARDIS, and because of how far back the camera is, you should have been able to see the TARDIS. Excuse my iPad for being dusty and a bit wet. It's raining right now, and I don't feel the best. So I have my window down, just very slightly, just let some air in, even though it's freezing. But I had a feeling she would give a description of the Doctor, and surprisingly, she'd actually call him Black. I had a feeling she wouldn't do that because we can't give away the race and stuff like that. And I thought she was going to give his pronouns as well. Surprisingly, she didn't, because I thought it was going to be, he goes by the Doctor. We don't really know his real name. He's 5'10", he's black, and his pronouns are they, them, he, him, whatever. Like, going around everywhere, going, any 5'10" black person, excuse me, are you non-binary? No? Okay, never mind. But, good on Russell for, not doing something retarded like that. So, the Doctor's been absent from this episode, which I don't mind them doing that. It wouldn't be the first time with episodes like Blink and stuff like that. But I just want to point out the fact that she's like, she spent the past about 17 minutes trying to, find him. And eventually she's saying, oh, maybe I should just give up. It's not like I've known you for that long anyway. And I'm glad that they're finally acknowledging the fact that they've just met. Because, the last 3 episodes, they act like they've known each other for years and that they're best friends. And it didn't sit right with me. I just didn't want to point it out because, inevitably we're going to get books and comics and just other pieces of media that will feature Shitty's Doctor and Ruby that may take place before Space Babies. And that's fine, but it's weird that the fact that they're now having her admit that she hasn't known him that long. Now, I don't know if any sort of previous episode of Doctor Who mentioned it, whether it be, Classic Who or New Who or whatever, but, a perception filter on the TARDIS, I don't know why I said it there, but that just sort of defeats the purpose of the chameleon circuit, because the whole thing is that, you have the chameleon circuit that disguises it to make it look like something ordinary, depending on where you are. So, the first place that the TARDIS went was 1960s London, where police boxes were common. So it disguised itself as a police box, but it broke, and now it's stuck as that. So, unless the Doctor created a perception filter to sort of negate the need for the chameleon circuit, that's fine, but if TARDISes come with perception filters, pre-installed or whatever, why is there a chameleon circuit? I like the way that they're taking this one small line from the beginning of the episode and they're turning it into something. But I have a feeling that there's going to be some politics here. Now, it could be politics I agree with, it could be politics I disagree with, or it could be somewhere in the middle. But it's most likely going to be something that's going to end up with me saying, Russell, suck my dick. That's the way that they did absolutely nothing to age Ruby, other than, make her hair, grow her hair out, and make her wear glasses. That's all they've done to make her 40, and I think it's brilliant. It's like in fucking Saw, just instead of them not de-aging, they're not aging. Now, Roger's supposed to be a bad guy. That much has been established even before they established that this was going to be a thing. But let's go through the things that he says and see if he's saying something true or not. So far, what he has said is that the government has collapsed into him. Now, this takes place in the 2040s. So, yeah, it's not today's politics, but it's written by today people, if you know what I mean. So, obviously they're using this as a metaphor for our current government. So, let's see which, so-called conservatives. And I'm going to assume that this guy is also a Tory, or whatever the 2046 or whatever version of the Tories are. So, has the government collapsed in shame? Collapsed, yes. In shame, no. Yes, that is true, one of the biggest problems is the cost of living. But where did the cost of living crisis come about? Now, I'm not saying this is 100% part of the blame, but, a good chunk of what caused this was Boris Johnson donating hundreds of billions, possibly even trillions. Sorry about that, the last video cut off. What I was going to say, if you haven't already guessed, is that we have sent hundreds of billions, if not trillions of pounds to Ukraine. Didn't the BBC support Ukraine? Didn't Russell T Davies support Ukraine? Didn't everyone involved in this support Ukraine? So don't... Yeah, it was the so-called Tories that you hate that were doing it. But you supported the so-called Tories in doing that. So, you are just as much to blame as Boris Johnson was. Like, do not take the high ground on this issue because you are guilty. You are a wolf in sheep's clothing right now. And you seem to be saying that, oh, well, we're going to take it back by, I don't know, nuking Ukraine or something. No, that's not what we're going to do. Yeah, we'll take it back, but we'll take it back with the Reform Party. And what Nigel Farage is going to do isn't going to be to spend anything at all on nuclear weapons. We're not going to spend it on nuclear weapons. We're just going to... Well, we can't just take the money back from Ukraine, but we're going to... Part of the problem is also the refugee crisis, because we're having... I think last year we had 700,000 immigrants, whatever you want to say, into the country, or into Britain, last year. And, they're coming in, they're being given all these favours that they do not need to pay back at taxpayer expense. So, they're being put in 5-star hotels that the taxpayers paying for, and they're not getting jobs or anything like that because they don't need to get jobs, because we're paying for everything that they need or want. So taxes are like if everyone puts a small portion of money into this pot, and you put some in, you take some out when you need it, and it sounds good on paper. But then we get all the refugees, and they're taking, but they're not putting anything in. And the system is collapsing. That is true, we do want to defend our borders, but we're not going to defend it with nuclear weapons. What we need to do is... Right, sorry about that. I forget where I was, to be honest. I'll just end this and then start a new one, and I'll look at what I said before, so that I know what to say next. Right, okay. So, as I said earlier, we're having, let's just round it up to 1 million migrants every single year, and it's getting so much that, there's not enough space for them housing-wise and stuff like that. So, we do need to have some border control, because right now we have fuck all. But it's not being defended by nuclear fucking weapons, Russell. Like, here's the way that it should work. Anyone coming in illegally, when they're caught, immediate deportation to their own country or wherever. If they come in legally and, they don't have any sort of criminal record or anything like that, then that's fine, let them come in. Like, if these are people who genuinely need help, fine. But the problem is that, right, here's the problem with the immigration being so much, other than we're losing housing space and they're taking all our tax money and all that. With the borders being so open and they're flooding in, it's very easy for terrorists to slip through. And I know what you're thinking. Oh, you're saying all Muslims are terrorists and all that. Well, I never said Muslims. I just said immigrants. But there are terrorists from every country who hate us, whether it be for a justified reason or not. But I'm not saying that they're all terrorists. Just that they do exist. Like, they are real, and because of how bad the border control is, it's very easy for them to slip in. Because there have been many, many times where they have been, questioning at the border and saying, what are you here for, business or pleasure? And they're here. They say, I'm here to blow up the Ariana Grande concert, and they got let free. And I'm not making that up. I don't remember the guy's name, but if you look it up, you will find that he outright said he's going to do that, and then he did it. So, we do need border control. Like, that's not an evil thing. Because this is just a metaphor for right-wing policies. And it has been exaggerated to death. No, we do not actually want to have to use violence. We only use violence if it is absolutely necessary. Maybe they're using this as a metaphor is for, I don't know. Politicians will say one thing, to the public, but they'll do the opposite when they're actually elected. And that is true. But not in the way that they think, because they think, these conservatives. I'm going to say conservatives, I don't mean the Tories, I mean actual genuine conservatives. Nigel Farage will take it as an example, because he seems to be doing very, very well right now. He'll say all these things, and it's like, some people agree, some people disagree, and it's whatever. But really, if he gets elected, he's gonna, kill all the black people. No. What's really happening is that you have these so-called conservatives being, I'll solve the border problem. I'll send all the illegals to Rwanda or wherever they said they were going to go. And when they actually get elected, they not only do nothing, they actually allow even more migrants to come in. So you are right, Russell, just not in the way that you think you are. Yeah, so these people, they are very patriotic, which there's nothing wrong with being patriotic. In Germany, the Green Party, some members were actually petitioning to remove the word Germany from their manifesto. Like, they hate their own country so much that they're not representing German values, and in the case of our current government and really every other party, bar the Reform Party, they're not standing for Britain, they're standing against Britain. So that's why there kind of is a need for patriotic parties, because if Britain isn't Britain, if Britain is more of a hub for other people to come through, then, that's just, where does that leave us? What are we? So we need a British government for Britain, we need a German government for Germany, etc. It's been about a week since my last video, but I'll continue on as if it hasn't been. How dare that guy declare independence from NATO? Only terrorists and dictators like Vladimir Putin would do that. The fucker. Get us a coffee while you're there. This isn't mad, man. Men don't speak like that anymore. Where, woman, is in obvious distress, visually, And it was just like stormed off, and then the guy's like, "Oh, can you get me a coffee, please?" We don't do that anymore. Like, fuck up. Private security does not act like this. Sorry, I'm eating my breakfast right now. But, you know, even in America, especially Britain, it's not like someone, like, trespasses and all of a sudden you have, like, armed police saying, stay where you are, blah, blah, blah. Like, that's just not how it works, and it kind of, Taylor Russell's a fucking idiot, or he's trying to say something about the police or having bodyguards or something like that, or guns in general. Either way, you're wrong. See if this were real. And instead of this Roger William guy, fucking Welsh language is bullshit. Then we're talking about real life. It's, let's say, David Cameron. Obviously, David Cameron never did anything like purchase nuclear weapons. And even if he had the option, he wouldn't, despite how bad he is. And, like, I don't like the man, but that's just not something he would do. So, you know, Ruby does some things to make sure that he doesn't become not doesn't become prime minister, but just at least fucks off before he can do anything. So he does that, or she does that. Then we get Theresa May, who, not much better. Then we get Boris Johnson, who did some good, but then immediately did, like, the worst things ever. Then Liz Truss, who only lasted 6 weeks. And then Rishi Sunak, who, he's all bark and no bite. So, point is, this isn't very realistic. There's no problem with that, I'm just saying. Because it is trying to be a metaphor for real life. Now that I think about it, the fact that the doctor just mentions Roger like that doesn't really make that much sense. Because, like, imagine I go on holiday to Spain, and I'm like, oh, yeah, I've never been in this country, but I know so many great things about it, like this, that. But we mustn't forget the Spanish Armada happened. So, they're not all good. Like, that's this. Who the fuck says that? I get this, the doctor we're talking about, and, you know, he's weird and he's a history expert and all that, but it's just. It's what. In hindsight, it just feels a bit forced. That last bit where the doctor asked Ruby, like, what was the first time you've been here? And she's like, oh, I think it must have been now. I'm pretty sure she said, I've been here 3 times now, not 3 times before. So, why do you think you're doing something, Russell, when you're just not? If this ends up being like some sort of Black Mirror type thing, that could be really good, but it also could be really bad. I forgot to give my sort of what I felt about the last episode. It, very good, other than it is probably the most metaphorical so far. Has there been a single guy in this that isn't gay? Also, I'm pretty sure the doctor kisses a man in the next episode, which, you know, I'm not gonna make a comment about it until I actually see that, because I want to see context and shit like that, but it's something I've noticed that there hasn't seemed to be a single straight person in this entire season, or straight man in this entire season so far, other than possibly just characters who weren't given a lot of screen time, like Roger, fucking goat fucker, and that guy that looks like Sean Murray in the pub. Okay, that bit where the guy was just dancing, and it said, like, subscribers everyone, and the girl's like, oh my god! That is how I feel about TikTok, where it's just like, you have these people who do a bunch of, like, shit with their arms and legs. It's like, really, whatever. Most of the time, I wouldn't even really consider it a dance. But these people get millions of followers. Like, they are the most followed people on TikTok. And it's just, like, can we get people who actually have talent And number one, like there are comedians on there that are quite funny, like Eelfeel. I feel Russell's going to use this as a metaphor for like Apple. I forget what it's called, but it's like that headset thing that they have that you seen people like using in public. So they'd be on a train and you just see them like typing at the air, but really they're just using like I guess you would call it an AR headset, where you can like just whatever. But I mean, I'm tired of people talking shit about these because it's not like, we're talking shit about Google Glass, even though that never took off as I would have thought it wouldn't. Apple Vision Pro, I think it's called, didn't take off, and it's not going to take off. There still could be something somewhere that comes out in the future that does take off, but I highly doubt it. Probably using that word chap as like for words he doesn't understand because he's in his 60s now, like Riz. Oh darn, you're getting old, man. Get over it. Working 2 hours a day is goddamn. I mean, I work 4 hours a day, which, that's half of the standard. But it's just, I feel like he's calling this generation lazy, which, yeah, that is true, but, I mean, I didn't pick this job because it was a 4-hour shift. I didn't think it was a 4-hour shift. Well, I knew it was a 20-hour week, which I assume would have been 4 5-hour shifts. It's 4-hour shifts. And I picked this job because it was the first one that actually accepted me. One where I did a interview good enough to be accepted. Talk shit all you want about working less hours, but don't talk shit about working less days. Like people who work 4 days a week, there's been reports that their productivity is way higher than people who work 5 days a week. I've thought of reasons why this would never happen in real life. We don't actually talk to each other anymore, not even over the phone. It's all text now. People get too nervous the phone even their best friends. Like according to a lot of studies. And you do see it on TV a bit as well, where someone will call them and you're like, "Why are you texting me?" So I'm not saying that like if they were to do a text version of this that it would be better or worse or not. I'm just saying that this exactly is not that likely based on what I just said. We work and then we play. That's a Silicon Valley. Like, if you ever seen the Silicon Valley show or played Watch Dogs 2, see all that stuff that they do where it's like in Google and all that. They don't use like stairs. They use like slides, and they use like beanbags instead of chairs. That's real. That's not something that both those things made up. Like that is genuinely what they do. And that's that line kind of reminded me of that. There was something else I had to say, but I don't remember what it is. They can't not be here. They have to come to work. Yeah. Yes, work is important, but it shouldn't be like, oh, you need to do this. Like, you should focus on starting a family before going to work. I've been doing a bit more thing, and so she's found out something that, these people are supposed to come to work, but they haven't. That's curious, but just don't get to explore it. And maybe that's because as a society, we've learned that curiosity killed the cat. And if that's what Russell's trying to say, that, we're not curious anymore, I would argue that's kind of his fault. Sorry, someone looking suspiciously like Arlene Foster just passed by. Yeah, but, like, if that's what's going on, curiosity killed the cat, Russell, you're at fault considering you wrote a lot of Doctor Who stories where someone gets curious and they die because of it. have two things to say in this video, because I was going to say something, but then someone just pulled up next to me. So I stopped and continued watching while I waited for him to go away. First off, they're using fucking music with a drum machine. Russell, go fuck yourself. Drum machines is the worst invention in the history of music. Like, you're 60 years old. You should be listening to that, like, after the editor has gone through making this episode. I should have told him, don't use bullshit music like that. I don't care if it's what the young people listen to. Like, it's just, it fucking pisses me off. It used to be just rap music, but it's no longer rap music. It's fucking everything now. Second point, I realized that when she uses this guy, fucking Ricky September, as a sort of coping mechanism, it made me think, this is not our generation that this is happening to. Like, Russell thinks that this is our generation. It isn't. It is Generation Alpha, or whatever the fuck their name is. Like, it's the skibbity toilet generation, because, she's using this guy as a coping mechanism, like, repeating the lyrics of whatever song that he's dancing to, if you can call it dancing, or song, or whatever else. And it reminded me of this video where a wee kid is getting an injection, and he's scared. He's like fucking holding on to his mum, and he's going, skibbity dop, or skibbity. You know what I mean? Just starts going skibbity dop, yes, yes, as a sort of coping mechanism, because he's about to get injected. So it's not our generation, Russell. It's It's like when I say kids, which for your age could be 30-year-olds, I'm talking 5-year-olds. Well, that's a bit of an inconsistency. Never before did they, I'm just gonna have to reword this. The entire time, there will be a system that just says, walk forward, and I'll just keep repeating forward, 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 until she needs to turn, or stop, or anything like that. And while that's happening, she's just FaceTiming her friends, and she can't actually see where she's going, because the boxes of her friends, they're blocking the way. But all of a sudden, they just sort of weave a gap, like, intentionally. As soon as the elevator doors open, they just separate. Just as there's a monster there, and it's inconsistent. The fact that she's trying to call the police, and then it's like, oh, all our officers are busy. And she's like, but I need the police. All our officers are busy, but please. It kind of reminded me, like, let's be honest. Our generation is mostly leftists. They support left-wing causes, for example, immigration. You know what happens when you have so many immigrants? They're taking up the time of all the doctors. So I was just thinking, based on what she said there, say this person is from the modern day, and they're just normal leftists. Oh, we want immigration. There's no such thing as, like, more immigration equals bad immigration. More is better, all that. And then she needs an ambulance, and she's calling one. It's like, literally every doctor, every ambulance, every medically trained person is busy right now. But they need a doctor. They're all busy. But they need one. And it's her fault because she supported all this. It's just, this episode's really got me thinking, which, considering it's Black Mirror-esque, it's doing its job well. The only black guy in this episode, she blocked him at the start, and then he came back, and she was like, oh, I thought maybe we were just someone that looked like him. What are you trying to say? I don't actually know if they gave out your name or not. This guy right here, I know it's hard to see because I had to zoom far into it, but he has been close up earlier, and I think he's the guy that I was pointing at when I said, there hasn't been a straight man in this season yet. He looks like the I Feel Fantastic doll. I don't mind the bit where he's like, oh, sorry, I should have asked consent before I hugged you, but asking consent for holding her hand, especially in, a life-threatening situation. Like, imagine if in some war movie or something like that, a character steps on a landmine, but it's the kind of landmine where I get this is not realistic, but just go with me here. Kind of landmine where it only goes off after you step off it, and one character steps on it, and another character's like, "Oh, do you mind if I tackle you out the way so that you fucking live?" "Oh no, I don't want to be touched." Like, what? In fact, fucking better comparison. That barber that asked consent to cut your hair. Like, it's a fucking barber. It's the consent is implied. Oh, but it needs to be confirmed. Like, it's not fucking sexual assault. You're getting your hair cut. You went to a barber. Like that's what they do. Consistency error or continuity, whatever you want to say. He was told to type in 65 and ended up typing in 95 or 85. Ricky's death was brutal for an episode of Doctor Who. Jesus. I was at a film that she ended up getting Ricky killed, and Doctor and Ruby ask where Ricky is, and she's like, "Oh, he's out saving more people." I'm surprised I didn't say, "Oh yeah, it makes sense. He's so good looking." Because good looking people only do good things. That sounds like jealousy on my behalf because I'm just not good looking. I didn't mean it like that. It turns out these people are seemingly racist. That thing about them, she thought the doctor was like two people that looked similar or something like that. They don't outright say it's because he's black. They just say that they can't go with his kind, which obviously they're talking about race, and because they're doing dystopian Black Mirror stuff, might as well just fit it in there that if we're going the way we're going, well, I know about being racist. There's so much racism now. Imagine how much worse it's gonna get. So far in the future, there's no racism. That bit where he laughs and then screams. I seen that bit before because my Dylan sent me a meme where it was like, Simon says laugh, not clap your hands. And I thought, right, I can't wait to see what the context of this is. And now that I know the context, that, these people would rather die than be saved by a black man. His acting isn't the best. Like, the scream I thought was quite nice. Him spitting everywhere. It felt real, but it's just... his laugh isn't really that of mania. It's of something being funny. Like, it's a genuine laugh and not a insane laugh, which is what I mean by his acting sucked. If the context had been different, like, say he was told a joke that'd make him laugh, but he's in pain or something like that, then the acting would be fine. But because of the context, it wasn't.